All right, it's There Will Be Giants this time because didn't do it last year like I was just telling Jeff, who, as I've said before, writes for who? Around the Foghorn. So what did
Around the Foghorn, yeah.
Around the Foghorn, my most fun Giants beat reporter to follow, the one with the biggest personality. The other ones are, I like them, but they're way too sterile, Jeff. I don't know if you can have some talks with them, maybe inject a little personality in the reporting, but they're very well, they're clearly not having bourbon like I am tonight. So before we get
Good
going
for
here,
you,
we'll
man.
just go in. As always, fueled by America's native spirit. I got the IW Harper 15 year here tonight. Um, Jeff, I believe you drank some wine last time. I don't know if you're imbibing tonight or if you're just kind of chilling out tonight.
Yeah, I remember that it was a Chardonnay,
Yeah, there you go.
and yeah, I'm probably not gonna. I might have a beer later tonight, but I
That's the
got
spirit.
nothing with me right now, so I'm envious. I'm very vicariously living through you right now,
That's the
enjoying
spirit.
the bourbon.
Yeah, I mean, you're on the West Coast, so you're a little later or you're a little earlier in the night. So
Yeah,
yeah, we'll catch up at some point. All right, man. So happy opening day +1 to you.
yeah, you as well.
Good day, good way to start. A little come bum from behind. I was sitting in a hotel watching, getting a little ready to break my computer screen since, I almost broke it the first time because I don't know if you had this issue, but MLB TV wasn't working.
Yep.
Yeah, and I may have repurchased the whole thing just to make sure it wasn't me. So
Yeah.
with a different, yeah. So then ninth inning comes, and then obviously we saw what happened. So good things there. What was your take on the first night or first game of the week? Can I speak, Frank? Let me see if my cat can judge this for me. What's going on, buddy? Can I speak tonight? Good answer. All right. Yeah, takeaways from the first game. What'd you think?
Well, I mean, it was surprising to say the least. I don't know how many times the Giants have had come from behind victories like that the past few years. So it was a
Never.
pretty encouraging to see. It was nice to see Wilmer Flores be the one to do it because I know a lot of Giants fans are down on him after he was clearly not healthy for much of last season. So nice to see him get into one. He's going to see a lot of playing time at DH. So I mean that was the takeaway. That was one takeaway was the comfort from behind victory. Obviously, the 17 strikeouts. I know Hunter Green is a good pitcher, and this lineup, this Giants lineup, they're going to have some swing and miss to them. You look at guys like Fitzgerald, Yastrzemski, Chapman, Adames. These guys all strike out. Elliot Ramos too strike out. 25% or more of the time. So they're going to strike it a lot. I think the bullpen also did a really nice job. This could be a nice year for the bullpen. They don't have a ton of depth behind the guys that they have right now in the roster, but the guys they have, it gives them a lot of length. Like Randy Rodriguez came in the sixth inning. He did a nice job. They have Lou Trevino, who's pretty experienced. And then, of course, Ryan Walker is going to be their closer unless something happens. Camilo Duval could very well rebound, and Tyler Rogers is he's not rebounding.
I mean, I hope he does. I just don't want him to be the
Yeah,
closer. I just don't. I don't trust Camilo Duvall as far as I can throw.
yeah,
I just don't do it. Like I get it, but no.
yeah. It's going to be Walker's to lose at this point. So,
Yeah.
yeah, bullpen strikeouts, clutch hitting in the ninth inning. That's the takeaways from today or
What do
from
you
yesterday.
What do you think about the bullpen construction with only one lefty? Worried
I
about
didn't
that?
like it.
Yeah.
Um, they brought in a lot of guys on non-roster um, as non-roster invites, meaning that they're not part of the 40-man roster, that they were
Yeah.
on minor league contracts. Um, there were a few guys like they didn't have to invest a lot of money into a lefty reliever. Even somebody just like doesn't have to. You don't have to go out and get a Tanner Scott or anyone like
Yeah.
that. Just get another guy to hedge your bets against Eric Miller, who did really nicely against lefties last year. But it would have been nice for them to have another reliable left-handed reliever in the bullpen. So I don't think that's a sustainable setup, but that's
Yeah.
what they're going with for now. There were a few guys like Scott Alexander, who pitched for the Giants a couple of seasons ago. He made a ton of sense to me to bring back. He's local, pitched for the A's last year, kind of funky, gets a lot of ground balls. They didn't have to go out and spend a lot of money for that spot.
Do you think we see Kyle Harrison come up and do some bullpen stuff? Since they stuffed Birdsong down there as well for some reason. I didn't like it.
Yeah, I didn't like the Birdsong assignment. I mean, I get it. They only had one rotation spot. Landon Roop and Birdsong both pitched really well this year. But he's going to get a shot. I don't like the swingman type role for a young pitcher that they want to start because the innings are pretty unpredictable. It could be like, hey, you're throwing 3 innings today because, this pitcher, got knocked out early. And it's like, you don't have the same preparation in that role that you have as a starter where it's like you pitch every fifth day, you do a bullpen in between, you do a couple of things. So I don't like that it breaks up his routine. But he's going to get into the rotation at some point. To your other question, Kyle Harrison. I mean, if he's throwing well in Sacramento, he's going to pitch his way into the rotation as well. I mean, the Giants have Justin Verlander, who made 17 starts last year. Jordan Hicks, who made 20 starts. Like, who knows how long these guys can go? Landon Roop hasn't thrown 100+ innings in the season since 2022. So, I mean, you hope everyone's healthy and can cover a lot of starts, but that's not what's going to happen. And the rotation is really a war of attrition in baseball. So Birdsong's going to get a chance to throw. Harrison's going to get a chance to throw. I wouldn't be too concerned about that.
Is that why you think they really ultimately ended up getting Verlander to kind of give Harrison some more time to get back and kind of find his way back into the lineup or the roster?
Yeah. That's a good
was
question.
Injured, right? So he had that ankle injury.
Oh, yeah. So Harrison had the ankle injury last year, and I think he was battling some shoulder discomfort as well.
Yeah.
But in getting Verlander, it was a little surprising. Like, if the Giants added a pitcher, like, I don't think it was a need in the offseason. I think it was more of a want because they have a lot of pitching depth. That's a very cute cat.
He always makes sense.
Yeah. My dog's around here somewhere. I think she's under the bed. But I was a little surprised they went out and got Verlander just because, he's in his 20th season. He's coming off of an injury plagued year. He didn't throw that well last year, and it's a 1-year deal. I thought, at that point, if they weren't going to get a Corbin Burns or a Max Fried, that they should just rely on their young guys. And going with Verlander, they went in a slightly different direction. But it was a little surprising that they went out and got him.
I offered because up here, I play in the 40+ wood bat league, and we are
nice
defending champions. So I offered Justin Verlander a roster spot because he's basically my age almost. So, but yeah, I think it is crazy that a guy that old, and I mean that old in baseball terms, like he was still pumping mid to upper 90s in spring training. Like his arm seems to be all the way back, whether it lasts. I mean, we know how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in what Robbie Ray's going to do. How do you think he's going to hold up?
Yeah, I wish I could. I mean, he looked great in spring training. Yeah. Is that going to translate to the regular season? That's not always the case. I don't know what to expect from him. He hasn't thrown a full season since 2022. And that was really the last time he was an effective pitcher. He made 7 starts for the Giants last year. The fastball velocity was still there. The swing and miss was still there. So, I mean, those were pretty encouraging signs. With Ray, it's just, there's always like that one middle mistake that he makes, and more than one sometimes. Every time he's out there, he could just be coasting for 3 or 4 innings, and out of nowhere, it's just like a meatball right down the plate. So, I mean, I want to say he's going to have a good year. I think if you look beneath the surface of what he did in 2022 when he was with the Mariners, really good at home in their field, which is the most pitcher-friendly ballpark in baseball, pretty by far. If you look at Statcast Park Factor, and he was very not great on the road, and that to me is like the road area is more indicative of like who he is or who he was in 2022. So that's just kind of in the back of my head right now, looking at his season coming up. Like, what are they going to get with Ray? I don't know. They're going to get a lot of strikeouts. He's probably going to give up a few home runs. He's going to benefit from pitching at Oracle, of course. I think the Giants would be thrilled if he gives them 25 starts and something around a 4 ERA. So, maybe with this changeup that changes the trajectory, but that's always kind of hard that's always kind of hard to see because, or that's always kind of hard to predict. In spring training, people come in with a new pitch, best shape of their life, new swing mechanics, and it doesn't always amount to much.
Yeah. Sticking. Okay, let's go to the bench now. What do you think of only keeping? Well, no lefties on the bench.
Yeah, it was an interesting move. Wisely, who, I mean, he gives you pretty good defense up the middle, left-handed bat. He doesn't give you any leverage really against right-handed pitchers, so he's
Yeah.
not really like a platoon bat in that sense. I thought it was interesting that they kept both Casey Schmidt and Christian Koss because
Yeah.
Bob Melvin, this is just my observation, but he really didn't use the bench that much last year. Like if you were a starting player, you were playing every day. If you were a bench player, you might see a couple of at bats throughout the week. So my hope is that Casey Schmidt still finds consistent playing time. I'm not really optimistic about that unless there's an injury.
Yeah. I don't know where he's going to play at.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the good thing is the bench has some versatility to it. Koss can play the outfield. Tyler Fitzgerald, who's not on the bench, can play the outfield. Yeah. Luis Matos is out there. And then Sam Huff. So it's a pretty light bench, but all right-handed hitters, they can't really do matchups. If fans wanted lineup stability, they really this iteration of the roster doesn't have the platoon. It's not set up for platoon, so it's gonna be a stable lineup.
I'm finally happy about. Let's play baseball. I love how everyone's like, "Well, you got to have a righty against a lefty." I'm like, okay, these guys grew up playing against whoever was out there pitching, and you know what? They made it to the professional league. They can hit the pitching. You just got to let these guys play. I've always been I'm very anti-platoon, anti-analytic when it comes to that. I used to joke when Kapler was manager, Bonds would be sitting if there was a lefty, he wouldn't play Barry Bonds. It's just, that type of stuff. It's just let the guys play. They can still hit the ball. The plate's still it's.
Well, I mean, there's still gonna be a couple of platoons. I think Luis Matos, the best chance for him to see playing time is going to be platooning with Mike Yastrzemski. So if there's lefty on a mound, he's probably going to be there. Every team platoons to some degree. The Giants did it more aggressively than probably any other team in baseball in recent seasons. So this is kind of the pendulum shifting way back in the other direction.
What do you think? I mean, I got so many questions on the roster, but I know we're kind of at that point, and I didn't even realize this because I remember watching Mike Yastrzemski get his first major league hit. It was just a big, super high fly ball that somehow fell into it. Yeah, and I'm just that guy's 36 now. There's no way the Giants sign him, do they? Since he's going to be a free, with so much coming up in the, too many young guys coming up. Grant McCrae, he's obviously a candidate for out there. Luis Matos, if he can hold on. But is there any scenario you see them holding on to Yastrzemski, or is he more likely to go find playing time rather than stick around as a platoon?
Yeah, I think. I mean, they have enough information on Yastrzemski at this point. Who, by the way, a guy who's really put together a nice career. Good.
I love him. He just gets hurt all the time.
Gets for power. He did have a pretty bad. He had pretty bad injury luck in 2023, and I think that's why the Giants really don't use him in center field anymore because he injured himself in a game early on, and I think he kept re-aggravating that. I think it was a calf injury or something like that. But I don't really see a scenario where he comes back to the Giants after this year, unless it's at a steep discount and the Giants are pretty clear that hey, he's a fourth outfielder. They have to, they need to figure out this year if Luis Matos and Marco Luciano and other guys are guys that they can rely on. And it's kind of hard to do with Yastrzemski, but at the end of the day, the team's going to try and win ball games. And if Yastrzemski or Matos or somebody else gives them the best chance to win, that guy's going to be in the lineup.
Yeah, I just think if I'm Yastrzemski, this is my one shot, my only shot, really, at getting a multi-year deal at the end.
Yeah.
So for some reason I see him ending up on the Angels. I don't know why the Angels pops into my head, but it just makes sense. That team is just. My brother's an Angels fan, and they're just.
Do you hate Mike Yastrzemski?
No, I actually like the guy. I just feel like he needs the chance. But I feel like the Angels would be the perfect spot for them because they're just so they've got obviously they got Trout and Soler ended up there, which is ironic, but I mean
Yeah.
they're just so rudderless it seems like even with Washington now as their manager, but they like I remember what was it I mean it was 2 drafts ago they spent their entire draft on pitchers and they still can't get a pitching staff like I don't know. I feel like Yastrzemski would do well there. It's a good park for him, and he could probably hit
Yeah.
a few home runs and play. But um, what do you think we see out of Jung Hoo Lee this year? Is he gonna stay healthy? Is he gonna be a? Because actually, he was kind of my favorite guy to watch yesterday. Like the guy drove every count, he took it deep, got 2 walks, made a great baseline
Yeah.
decision to take third on Chapman's hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of his game that we didn't see last year was the kind of on base ability. We know he has the bat the ball skills. He's not going to swing and miss much. He's going to hit a lot of line drives. Didn't find a lot of luck in terms of
No,
doing that. And I think the Giants hope that if he gets a little stronger, that some of that luck goes more in his favor. But this is still, I mean, it's pretty much year one for him again
yeah,
because he missed
yeah,
most of last year. I think he knows what to expect this year. So maybe there'll be a quicker adjustment. But you look at a guy like Ha-Sung Kim, who, it took him a year to adjust from the KBO to the major league pitching.
yeah.
That's kind of what I expected with Jung Hoo Lee too. But yesterday, good, good at bats. I mean, just good at bats all around. He took pitches that I mean that's a strength of his. He has a good idea of the strike zone. He doesn't chase often. He doesn't swing and miss much too. So one second, I got it. My dog is
There's the
testing me.
dog. All right, we're in that dog appearance.
No, she was tired of me talking about the Giants.
Oh well, she's in for a rough night.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of my hope for him. I was really kind of disheartened to see him get that injury, mainly because I don't know. I think it rubbed a lot of Giants fans the wrong way because it was something that I think a lot of people thought maybe he could potentially play through. But when you sign a long-term contract, why bother, right? So,
Yeah.
and then it did open up spot for a guy like Grant McCray to come up, and actually he played well when he had a few opportunities. Yeah, last year was just odd. I mean, that's why like I'm surprised I didn't get to talk to you last year about it, but yeah, last year's over. So another guy that I'm really excited for, especially after I got to watch him in person, which was okay. So every time the Giants come to DC, I go see all 3 games. And last year I did the same thing. I went to the game where the Giants were up like I think they were up 4-0 in the first inning, and then they went on to lose like 10-4. So, but the first inning was great because watching Ramos and Fitzgerald and Birdsong was the starter, and he started off really well. Birdsong, like as you know,
Yep.
dude throws hard, and he's only good. I feel like once he grows up a little, and I just mean that physically because he's still so young and he's frail, a lot like Fitzgerald, but Fitzgerald's older. But to see Fitzgerald in person, like he's really not as small as the guy looks on TV. Like on screen, he looks kind of skinny. In person, he's every bit of 6'2", and he's a big kid. And he's got some real power when he hits the ball. And so that's why he's the guy I'm most excited to see play a full season this year. What do you think we're going to get out of him for a whole year?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 2020,
Oh, absolutely.
potential. I mean, easy 20 stolen base ability,
Yeah.
and there's really not anyone else in the Giants who can steal at the volume that he steals at. So I mean, I think it's going to depend on how he adjusts. He came up last year. He was really good in July. He hit like 5 home runs in
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
games. He was awesome. And then the league started to adjust. You can see it now the way they pitch to him. It's like a lot of 4-seamers up in the zone that he struggled to cover at the end of last year, and pitches on an outer halfway didn't do a ton of damage. So what I see from him this year, it's really going to depend on how he adjusts to the scouting report that's out there on him. The number that I keep coming back to is I mean, I don't put weight in the spring training stats. I don't care. The spring training's over. We don't care about it. I don't care about it at this point. He had like a 45% strikeout rate on like 45 plate appearances, which is alarming for a guy who started to see a strikeout rate really tick upward toward the end of the year last year. So it's really going to depend on his adjustments, because if he's not able to adjust, then somebody like Casey Schmidt is probably seen as an insurance option just in case. So to answer your question, I don't know what we're going to see from Tyler Fitzgerald. He's got potential to hit for power. He lifts and pulls better than most hitters, and that's the key to his success. He's a fast runner. He's a good runner. Probably second base is a better position for him. But it's really going to depend on that adjusting to that scouting report that's out on him right now.
And since he was the shortstop last year, we clearly have a new shortstop in San Francisco, Willy Adames. What are your expectations, your hopes and dreams? What do you got for that guy?
Yeah, Adames. I know his
love his energy yesterday. Definitely
love the energy. Yeah. He had a bad game, and he was stoked for Wilmer Flores to hit that home run. He was the first guy out, so that was exciting to see. I know his leadership qualities are kind of off the charts from everything I've heard. This is a guy who's going to play a pretty good shortstop. And he's going to hit for a lot of power. I don't think moving to Oracle Park is really going to be much of a factor for him. Referencing again park factor for right-handed hitters, where he was at previously in Miller Park and Oracle Park have the same park factor in terms of difficulty for right-handed hitters. So, he's a pretty heavy pull hitter.
Yeah.
And it was the same, it was equally as difficult to hit at Miller Park for right-handed hitters as it is at Oracle Park. So I feel like his swing's going to translate just fine. There's going to be some swing and miss to his game. That's just part of hitting as many home runs. He's a clutch hitter. I know that's one of those numbers that gets brought up that front offices don't put much weight into, but there's got to be something to it. Hit for power, he's a good base runner. He has some speed. He steals bases at a pretty efficient rate. So I think we're just going to see a guy kind of like Matt Chapman, who's in the lineup every day, who can carry his weights on defense, who can hit with power, and who can run the base as well. So I think there's a lot of value that he brings outside of what his top line stats say.
I guess my only, and I know we're going to see more of Flores, but I think I'm trying to, I just can't get behind the Bob Melvin, Lamont Wade leadoff thing. I know he gets on base with walks, but he can't run. So it almost is like negating the purpose of you getting on base so you can possibly stretch a base hit from first to third. But what do you think we're going to get out of Lamont Wade this year? I know we got Bryce Eldridge coming, and I'll follow up with him at some point. But where are you at on Wade at this point? I think it's year 4 with him, and he's getting up there as well. And especially the injuries, they don't tend to get better as you get older, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I love the guy, to be honest. I really do. I love him. He's a great.
Yeah, exactly. Great clubhouse presence.
Yeah.
He's been injured the past few years. I think him playing outfield, I know they've said he's an emergency option. I think that's probably out of the question at this point, given the injuries that he's had. With Wade Jr., we're going to see what we typically see, and that's a great base percentage, modest power, and a high, unfortunately, a high probability that he lands an injury list at some point. That's just, that's part of his game maybe not his game. That's not the right phrase, but that's part of his profile. He's missed time the past few years, and when he comes back, he's not the same hitter. So I hope he can avoid that. But he gives the Giants some really good on base ability. To your point about him batting a leadoff, I've tried to justify this as him not like clogging up the bases in the middle of the lineup, rather than just letting him get on base right away and kind of have somebody like Adames or Chapman behind him, hit a double so he can score a little easier. And plus, when you walk as much as he does, he's not putting the ball in play as much. So I think the purpose of having Jung-Hoo Lee bat third is that it's kind of a contrast between a guy who really takes a lot of walks. That's the strength of his profile, is taking walks and reaching base. And then with Adames and Chapman, it's power and strikeouts. But with Lee, it's contact. It's putting the ball in play. So I think there's something to be said about having a guy kind of move the line with Wade in front of him, ideally with Wade on base, and then having a couple of guys hit for power in between that. So that's kind of the way I envision it. That's just that's the only way I can really justify it is that they
Yeah.
don't want Wade Jr. coming up with guys on base in the middle of the lineup and taking a walk, and that doesn't really move things forward.
Yeah. And the only reason I bring that part up is because usually, we think of a guy like a leadoff hitter gets on first. You want the possibility to be a threat for a steal, and that just doesn't exist. So just it
Yeah.
removes all the pressure from the pitcher who can just pitch for a double play. So yeah, okay, well, all right, it is what it is. All right, Frank, see you later, bud. All right, so yeah, let's get to first baseman of the future. Bryce Eldridge. He's clearly coming. I guess he's suffering a little bit of an injury right now. Really interesting candidate. Guys from right around here, Vienna, not too far from me.
He is.
I was down there in Richmond for his like week in Double A and his debut that he spent down there before he moved up to
Yeah.
That's a big boy. Definitely a big kid. Hits the ball very hard. Fielding looks interesting. I mean, I get it. He's learning the position. He's 20 years old. Let's not pretend that this kid's like, he should be, an all-star first baseman at this point. I think that's something he can learn. But where's where is your stock on him? Is it someone you want to see this year, or do you want to see him kind of get a full year in AAA, or where are you at?
I think we're going to see him in the back half of this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts the year in Double A back in Richmond. To be honest, he wasn't on Sacramento's roster, which was published today. That was due in part, I think, to the wrist issue he's dealing with right now, but also like the Giants when they called him up to AAA last year, it was after Richmond's season finished. They were just trying to get him more at bats. That was kind of the reasoning behind it. I don't know if it was like, hey, you've graduated from Double A to AAA. I think it was, hey, we just want you to keep getting at bats, keep getting reps, because he even went to the Arizona Fall League.
Yeah.
After that, in October, it still continued to get reps. So I think the Giants are going to see him in the second half of this year, especially if he, once you get to AAA, it's a very hitter-friendly league. There's the ABS system that a lot of the ballparks have high elevations, so the ball travels a little better. It also, the breaking stuff doesn't move as much, and it's very it leans very much in favor of the hitters. So if he gets to AAA, I'd be surprised if he didn't really, kind of knock on the Giants' door with his bat. So I think he's going to spend some time in Double A. I don't think the Giants are too. It's a new front office now. They're not going to be. I don't think they're going to be as aggressive with promotions as they were last year or in recent years, where they move somebody up and you're like, oh, okay, well he's been in that league for a couple weeks now. I guess he's ready for a new challenge. I mean, there was some of that, but I think it's again the pendulum's going to shift a little more back to a conservative approach. Buster Posey came up at a time when Brian Sabian thought, that players should spend a full year in every level. That's not the thinking anymore. But that was the belief at the time. So maybe that's kind of his approach as well.
When he does come up, you think he's just DH or is he playing the field?
I think he'll be playing the field. He's 20 years old. You don't want to limit him to DH. And, playing first base is just another avenue for him to stick in the lineup. If he does happen to DH a few times, that's fine. But I just don't think you want to pigeonhole somebody as a DH at that age. And when it comes to his defense, he's still new to the position. It's not that he's just young. He wasn't really playing a ton of first base in high school, which was only 2 years ago.
Right? Yeah,
he was pitching, and he was pitching, and he was a DH, and he also played some outfield. But I don't think the Giants are motivated to see what he can do in outfield at this point. I think they just want his bat and whatever position he can play, first base being the easiest one, whatever helps him get to the majors the quickest.
Yeah, I mean, I love him at first base, and I go back to, again, as much as I love Lamont Wade, the guy's, he's shorter than me. Like, he's 5'11", listed, which means he's probably closer to 5'9.5", maybe 5'10".
Yeah.
And I get it. Flores he's 6'3", he's a bigger target, but when you have someone who's not only just a lefty, right? But you have someone who's got that body that can cover so much, it just helps your infielders way more by having that guy there. So I really do hope he grows into first base because I said this during the offseason. I mean, I'm already ready. Let's go 20 years, 1 billion. Let's just sign him now. Like, what are we waiting? What are we waiting on?
Yeah. Yeah.
We've never had a guy like this
Yeah.
ever in my life come up as a prospect. Never.
Yeah. The funny thing about those deals is, some guys like, I'm trying to think, who's a recent guy that like signed like out of the minors. Like Evan Longoria was kind of a guy who signed like an extension 5 games into his major league career, and
Well, the guy that just did
yeah.
it was the dude did Churio do it? Or was it
Churio, Jackson Churio.
Jackson Churio
Sorry,
just
I
did it.
forgot that.
Who
For Milwaukee.
he played like you and I could have yesterday. 5 strikeouts, Jeff. We could totally do that against Carlos Rodon.
I don't think I'd make
5Ks right now, buddy.
But some of those deals don't always pan out. You see guys like Scott Kingery who signed like a major league debut contract. It was like 5 years, $25 million, something like that. And he's barely playing the majors since then. John Singleton's the perfect example of a guy who signed like one of those major league deals in the minors. And they don't always pan out, but Jackson Churio, I mean, that guy's just an incredible talent.
Yeah, he's a stud. So they can do that though. They don't have to wait for the whole like 6 years of team control until they get free. They can sign him anytime.
They can sign him whenever they want.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So obviously that's the big guy coming. But then who else do we have down there? I know there's 3 guys named Carson in AAA, but who's like the next? Yeah, a lot of Carsons. It's so odd. I've never met a Carson in my life personally, but apparently the Giants have them all and they all pitch and they're all pretty good. But aside from them, I guess Christian Koss was kind of a surprise because obviously watched him in the minors play, but never really considered him. Is Hunter Bishop going to make his way finally, or is he kind of at that? It's probably a little too late.
It might be a little too late. I mean, you look at Sacramento's roster. Hold on, my dog knows.
Yeah, go get it. No worries.
Bailey, huh? Wait. You look at Sacramento's roster, and the guys who are in the outfield right now are Luciano, McRae, and who's the third one? Wade Meckler. They're all on the 40-man roster. They're going to get priority at bats in outfield over Hunter Bishop, who is not. And I think the good thing last year is that Bishop stayed healthy because that's been such an issue throughout his career.
Yeah.
And a key for him is just to stay on the field, keep getting those reps that he missed in the past few years. But it's going to be tough for him to make it to the majors as like a DH right now. He's kind of buried on a depth chart. So he'd really have to have a strong stint with the River Cats to get promoted to the roster. It'd be cool to see. It'd be a great story. He's also, I think I'm pretty sure he's a free agent at the end of this year, as he'll reach 6 years of minor league free agency, which is the point where minor leaguers become free agents. I think maybe that ship has sailed, but he's still on the roster with the River Cats. He's still going to get at bats if he rediscovers some of that power he showed when he was in college. I wouldn't say never, but it just feels like he's working up a pretty steep uphill battle right now.
Okay, and then speaking, a good transition was the guy you brought up before I get to the other draft pick, but. Man, I've never seen like a stock be so high and then be so low for a player in a very, very long time. But what's the future for Marco Luciano at this point?
Well, it's going to be an outfield.
Clearly can't play shortstop, unfortunately.
They pulled the plug pretty quickly there. I mean, there were always questions about his defense, even going back to when he signed as a 16-year-old prospect. The thing that stands out to me about his season last year is he didn't hit well. He didn't hit well in Sacramento. He didn't hit well in the majors. He didn't look good. He didn't look like himself either. Like it looked like he was just, the Giants were. I use this phrase, but square peg round hole. with development where they were trying to make Luciano a hitter that he isn't. I think when he's at his best, he's a more aggressive hitter where he can just kind of let his bat speed get through the zone, and if he makes contact, that's going to go a long way. The thing that stands out to me about his season last year was he was still making hard contact. He just wasn't pulling anything. He wasn't getting anything in the air, but he was still making a lot of, you look at his exit velocity numbers for what those are worth. He was still making a lot of loud contact there. It just wasn't the right contact. So I feel like where he's out, he's coachable in the sense that they just need to get him back to where he was a few years ago when he was like, you look at the videos of him hitting, and it looks like a completely different hitter than he was last year. So the raw power is there. It's just a matter of getting the swing mechanics right so he can lift and pull and really take advantage of that power. So it goes from raw power to game power.
Yeah.
But yeah, left field is going to be his best avenue for playing time going forward. It seems like.
Well, and that's my concern is that he's he's a BP stud, right? I mean, there's unfortunately, I hate to say it, but there's tons of dudes right now who could get on a BP field and go hit bombs, but they can't play in the major leagues. I mean, that's just. I remember watching him down in Richmond, and I sat there and I was just like, this is the guy that everyone thinks is the number one prospect, and everything. Like, he struck out 3 times, I think, and he hit like a pop up to the catcher, and I was just like, I get it, it's one game, but
Yeah.
nothing about him ever jumped off the screen to me. That never jumped off in person. I probably saw him play 6 or 7 times down in Richmond. I just never really saw it, and I wanted to because I was excited. I was like, wow, this is a guy, like he should be taking Brandon Crawford's place, and that's clearly not something that's going to happen. So, all right, well, I do hope the best for him. Obviously, like he is a giant. I want to see him do great things, but yeah. So that brings me to my next question. Where's James Tibbs in the pipeline? Where do we think he ends up? Is he starting in Double A? Because I know you said you just named three. You named 3 outfielders in Rich or Sacramento. So
I, I wouldn't expect him to start in Double A unless he does really well in minor league camp. But those rosters should be coming out pretty soon. I think he's going to go back to Richmond, or sorry, not Richmond, but Eugene, where he finished
oh,
last
really?
year. That's an appropriate level for him. He
Think
struggled
so?
pretty badly at the end of
Okay.
last year. I think he was dealing with fatigue. He
In
just wasn't
college.
really himself. He was too aggressive at the plate. He was, yeah, it's a long year for college players. They play
Absolutely.
60 plus games,
No.
and then they get drafted, and they go from playing baseball as a passion to playing baseball as a job, where it's like you're playing every day,
Mm.
even if you're not playing in a game. So I just think he was worn out. Still very good swing mechanics, good swing decisions. I think there's some concerns about how he does against lefties. There's concerns about how he reads off speed pitches. But he's got a pretty sound swing, and that's kind of half the battle. He's got like, I think he's pretty limited athletically, so he's not going to be like a Gold Glove corner outfielder or anything like
Sounds like
that.
me.
But he's going to be passable. He's not much of a runner or anything like that. But guy who hits pretty well with modest power upside, maybe in like the 15 to 20 range, but probably not much more than that.
All right, so that's a draft picks from last season. Who do you like that no one's really talking about that could potentially get a good maybe a call up late in the season that's not a pitcher because I know we got plenty of pitchers coming. Who do you like in position land besides Luciano, who's obviously going to get a chance. Wisely will probably be up because he always ends up. And as much as I don't want to see Wade Meckler ever again in the outfield, I'm just still scarred from 2 years ago in Philly when I went to watch him play the Philly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like I'm sitting it's like, what's this guy? What poor guy he's just getting. So I don't want to see that again. But aside from them, who do you think has a chance to do something, make a little noise?
I mean, there's not that many options to choose from. The guy that stands out to me in Double A last year hit really well was Diego Velasquez.
Yeah, I like him.
Switch hitting middle infielder, probably limited to second base going forward. in terms of range and arm strength. But a guy who doesn't hit for a ton of power, he doesn't really hit for any power, but just hits line drives all over the field. He's got a line drive swing, good contact skills, pretty advanced for his age. He's last year he was in his age 20 season, and he did really well in Richmond, which I'm sure it's a pretty tough league for hitters to hit in for a lot of reasons. Advanced pitching, wet climate early in the year, ballpark dimensions are pretty big. So that's the guy that kind of stands out. I think he's going to start the year again in Richmond, but he hit really well there last year. Despite a lack of power, that's probably obviously his limiting factor. He doesn't really hit for much power, but good swing mechanics, nice line drive approach. Doesn't swing and miss a ton. So that's the guy I'll go with.
All right. Diego Velasquez. Like it. Jeff, thoughts on the City Connects? Don't like them.
The Giants branding.
I know what you said. Hey, I know they just need to win. But
yeah, that's how. Like when it comes to their like annual phrase, like nothing like it, or I don't know what else. The branding's never too important. If they win games, it's going to look awesome. If they go 2-18 in those uniforms, it's going to be like, well, we need to try something else new. So just win baseball games. That's really all that matters to me.
I'm just curious, like is there anyone in the decision, like in the sign off chain of I don't know, chain of approval? Did like this get to the Buster Posey level? Does this get to the ownership level? Like who's in charge of deciding these are the City Connects? Because I don't know, they didn't consult the fans. If they did, they could go look on, on X right now and see that it's not a very popular uniform compared to the past. I love the old City Connect hat, the orange one. That's my favorite. I love that thing. But I don't even know what the hat looks like on this one. I've only seen this screenshot of a jersey. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder. I think that post got taken down or something. So I wonder, like,
cease and desist.
Hey, this is privy information that you're sharing right now. So I don't know how. I don't know if it was viewed on Instagram. I don't have Instagram or anything like that. So yeah, I noticed that it got pulled down at some point. So maybe there's to be continued.
Yeah, maybe there's still hope. That's what I've said. Maybe this was just something that was leaked. It was one of the ones that was left on the cutting room floor, as they say. And maybe we'll get something a little more, I don't know, visually appealing. You watch any baseball today? Did you watch the Rays and the Rockies by chance?
No, I heard it was a good game. I was working.
No, it was a great game, and I appreciate you working. But the thing that I really like, because as someone who grew up in Florida, I've always wondered why the effing Rays play in an abandoned hockey arena in St. Petersburg. And, they did this walkthrough before the game of what the Yankees were already renovating this stadium. Like it's George Steinbrenner Field. It's where they play in the training. This field, this stadium it blows away probably 90% of professional stadiums. Like it's ridiculous what they have in terms of amenities. It's incredible. But yeah, the Rays walked it off.
Oh, good for them. Run.
And you know what they got to do that they can't do inside? They lit off fireworks and did all over. They had all kinds of crazy stuff going on that you can't do in a freaking dome. Like the fact that for 30 years they've played inside this abandoned hockey arena that the Tampa Bay Lightning left years ago to move to downtown Tampa blows my mind. And I said on X, and I really hope they do it, but whatever, the Rays need to buy that field. They just need to buy it. And the Yankees can go build another spring training park right next to it if they want. But the Rays need to buy this field because they're never going to build one because Florida's just weird when it comes to Tampa and their owner. But this field's there. It's the perfect size for the Rays. They're never going to sell out an 80,000 seat stadium. I don't even think they have those in baseball unless you're the Dodgers. But that's perfect for them. You have to see this, Jeff. I need you to go watch the highlights. Look how it looked.
Take a look.
The signage. There was something like they had a mile's worth of signage to put up to cover all the Yankees logos and shit throughout the field. But it incredible. It's like finally a real outdoor stadium in Florida. Like nothing like Lone Depot with the covered roof like they'd have in Miami. Like it was a real field. Like you got to go watch this. I'm just saying. I'm excited. I was excited.
I'll take a
I wasn't excited for
look.
Brendan Doyle and
Yeah,
his 0
Lone
4
Depot Field.
performance on my fantasy team, but I was excited. Jeff, I'm losing you out there. Did you pay your internet bill this month, buddy? Jeff's frozen. He's gonna come back. I can feel it. He'll come back. These things happen. There he goes. Maybe the dog. Maybe it was Jeff's dog who oh, there he's back.
Kicked off the internet for a second.
No, I was like, maybe Jeff's dog wants him to stop talking about the Giants so he can the internet cord or something. You never know. These things.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, Brendan Doyle, 0 for 4. Thanks, buddy.
He's a good player.
He's a great player. That's why I drafted him in like the 19th round in my fantasy league, but he hasn't helped me yet. But whatever. What do you think about the A's playing in Sacramento? How's that good? Because let's see, they got that field in MLB The Show 25. They're playing in Sacramento for the next 3 years.
Yeah,
that's, to me, that is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I know they say it's temporary, but I feel like some of these temporary changes tend to become permanent.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to happen with the A's, but I mean, it could. I don't know if it would surprise anyone.
Think they stay in Sacramento?
I don't know if honestly, I don't know if the A's or the Giants have territorial rights or anything like that in Sacramento, as was the case in San Jose. I don't know if that's the case at all, but it feels like, the A's, like, I mean, I don't know, like they're set up in Sacramento. Now it's such a pain in the ass for them to move to another ballpark in 3 years. But we'll see what happens. I don't like them sharing a minor league stadium with Sacramento. That makes scheduling kind of tough and all that. There's logistical issues there, but sure. I mean, Soto Health Park is nice. It's a good ballpark.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. I went there. The first time I went there was Madison Bumgarner. He was doing a rehab start. That was that place was wild. That was pretty fun. I am curious about the A's future because obviously it sounds like everyone in Oakland wants to end up in Vegas, but I mean, California, Bay Area, whatever, even up all the way up to Sacramento. I mean, there's a ton of A's fans outside of Oakland. I mean, especially in Sacramento. Like they grew up. I mean, at the same time, like most of those people, especially people my age and a little bit younger, grew up when the A's were the dominant American League team in the 80s. Like, everyone remembers the Giants in the A's World Series for a lot of reasons. but I mean, the A's were great at one point. I am not sad to see them out of Oakland, though. I went to that stadium a lot, and just the surrounding area. It's always entertaining. All right. Well, let me see what else I got on this thing here. All right, let's just skip ahead. Let's just skip ahead because I am very bullish on the Giants. I feel like the last couple of seasons have been underwhelming. They're hovering around 500.
Yep.
I honestly think that they're going to be I can't really say well above, but I think they're going to be around the 87, 88 games. Right? Find their way into the playoffs because everyone's chasing the Dodgers. I'm not really blown away with anyone else in the NL West. I know everyone loves to talk about Arizona and, they signed Burns, but, it's still people are really high on the Padres. I'm not because they're still the Padres until they do something besides, losing the playoffs, which is kind of what where do you see our Giants ending up this season? We're already on pace for 162-0. I said it.
We're 162-0, and we're the best team in
61 to go.
training.
Let's do it.
So, I've been asked this a few times, and honestly, I'm not as optimistic. I keep coming back to about 81 wins, and it's like weird because like in my head, I'm like, well, the lineup is probably it's probably better or around the same. I think it's probably going to be a league average lineup. The pitching staff has way more depth to it this year, so there's not going to be as many bullpen games. But there's question marks outside of Logan Webb. The bullpen, I think, could be a pretty decent unit. Defensively, if everyone stays healthy, Jung Hoo Lee in particular, like They should be good defensively and much better than last year.
Yeah.
But I just don't see how they're a much better team compared to last year. Like they lost Blake Snell, they lost Michael Conforto. I know a lot of people didn't like Conforto, but he still hit decently enough, 20 plus home runs, and they replaced that with Willy Adames, who is higher offensive upside, in my opinion, better base runner, better all around player. Um, and then they replaced in the rotation Blake Snell. He wasn't good for much of. He was injured for the first half. He was the best pitcher in baseball in the second half, and it replaced that with Justin Verlander. So who knows what Verlander can give you? I think they're hoping that Robbie Ray stays healthy, that Jordan Hicks can transition effectively to the rotation, but that's still kind of a question mark. So I'm still at 80 to 81 wins. I just can't really wrap my mind around them being better than that, but I'd love to be surprised.
I don't like your common sense approach to this, Jeff. We're in game 2 tomorrow. I need you to be overzealous, unrealistic.
Yeah.
I need you to realize that we don't have to do bullpen games anymore because we got Hayden Birdsong.
Yeah.
He's going to be the sixth pitcher. Let's go. We don't need a bullpen game.
Games.
Don't need him. You got Hayden Birdsong going 9 out of the pen. Let's go. All right.
I like it.
Here's where I like to make. I'm going to make you think a little bit, and your Buster Posey. You realize we're at a spot. We're at the turning point in the season. We need to make a move. Who's potential trade bait? I know we got a lot of pitchers.
Yeah, I think if they trade, they're going to have to trade from their pitching depth. I don't know who exactly. It's going to really depend on who's performing. Usually in the middle of the year with midseason trades, teams aren't really keen on trading top prospects. They'll typically trade guys whose stocks have fallen that other teams, see something that they can fix. So whoever that is, maybe it's a Marco Luciano, maybe it's a Kyle Harrison. It's really going to depend on how they're performing leading up to that. But yeah, you're probably not going to see a guy like Bryce Eldridge moved, regardless of who's available.
Better not.
Yeah, you're probably not going to see. Maybe you could see Carson Whisenhunt moved. I don't know. But they're probably going to trade from their pitching depth, and whoever's stock is maybe a little lower than it was at the start of the year is probably more vulnerable than others.
If they're trading from pitching depth, what do you think position-wise they're trying to get back? Outfield?
Maybe a corner outfielder. Maybe that's really maybe a first baseman. Rental first baseman. I'm not sure. Maybe a DH. I think a lot the rest of the positions should be just fine.
I know Ramos went last year, and so did Webb. He made his first appearance as well. But any All-Stars you see this season?
Willy Adames has never been an All-Star. It'd be cool to see him.
Really? I did not know that.
Giants. Yeah. Who knew? A guy who hits 30 plus home runs at shortstop, never an All-Star.
In the National League, who was taking all the All-Star appearances?
I think Brandon Crawford had one of them in 2021, but
he's that. Look at this. Seager, maybe Corey Seager in the Dodgers at the time.
Corey Seager might have. I'm blanking. Dansby Swanson was good in 2023. I think he was an All-Star.
Yeah. That's weird. That is very odd. Because every team's got to send someone. I'm surprised Adames wasn't. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'd love to see him be an All-Star. I don't know, just all the preseason stuff. The behind the scenes things. Just seeing him yesterday after Flores hit the home run. You never see how other guys are around the league. You just see how they play. But his personality, I think he's definitely changed this team. This team is not. They don't look anything like they did before he got here. His personality is very infectious. You can see that he likes playing the game, and people like him, which is always good. It's always good for players to get along. It just seems very different, especially when you read. Well, I don't know if it was a Pavlovich story last year about the locker room, or maybe it was last season or the season before about how it was. And I just remember reading that. I'm like, who would want to play with this? This sounds really way too tense to be baseball. Baseball's always been even when I sucked or our team sucked, we always had fun. You should always have fucking fun. It's baseball. How can you not have fun doing this? So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Adames effect, and I think he's obviously a big impact, but also Verlander, what Logan Webb seems to speak really highly of him and his impact on everybody
Yep.
so far as well. So that's I don't think you can. I think that stuff, especially in a sport like baseball where you play every day, I think those things matter.
Yeah. Chemistry matters. They
Um,
have some glue guys. I mean, Verlander and Adames are high character guys. That's kind of, that's probably going to be Buster Posey's, the quality you can't quantify exactly is probably going to be something that he targets when he's looking at free agents and players. He wants them to have high character, and Adames
yeah.
and Verlander bring that to the table.
Yeah, I can't believe, honestly, when I was watching the game yesterday, they showed Posey up in the booth, and I guess it was his 38th birthday. Like that guy should be
Yep,
playing still. Like it just
he
blows my
should be.
like. I mean, I'm glad we have Patrick Bailey, but I really hope Bailey figures out his bat and gets it at least somewhat
Yeah,
close to what Posey had. Because, man, I really did think Bailey would be a better hitter at this point. The way he played in college, like that dude was a stud, and he's good. He's very clutch. He's just
yeah,
he seems like when it's just a regular at bat, he's just like, whatever. But when it's clutch time, like yesterday,
yeah,
who gets the hit to bring up Flores? How many times did he do it last year with big home runs or whatever? Like he's a very
yeah,
clutch hitter, but I don't know. I don't know if he's just like he's like I got to catch. I got to save my energy. I don't. But that's my. I love Bailey though. He's good. What
yeah.
do you think about stat or I forgot the dude's name already. The guy who made the backup role behind Bailey. It's not Stassi.
Sam Huff.
Sam
Yeah.
Huff. That's it. Yes.
Uh,
Stassi's on
I,
tripping.
I Yeah, I wasn't surprised that he made the team. He was on the 40-man roster, so he had the edge over Stassi there. I think it's about like, you have a backup catcher role. They're gonna, in theory, catch maybe 50 to 60 games.
Yeah.
Like, how do they get those 50 or 60 games? It's probably going to be some combination of Huff, Stassi. Like, you don't want to burn all those options at once because Huff was out of options. So if he didn't make the team, he would have had to been placed on waivers, and catchers are popular around this time of year. So I think Huff always had the edge there because it's like,
Mhm.
well, he's going to be the first option on the depth chart. And then from there, they're going to look at Stassi and Murphy. A lot of it's going to depend on how Huff performs. If he hits, he plays well, he's going to continue to be the backup catcher. With him, his defense is passable. He's a decent framer. He's got a good arm. He's not Patrick Bailey behind the plate, but he's passable. He's a backup catcher in that regard. Offensively, a lot of loud contact. When he makes contact, he's going to swing and miss a lot. He's gonna walk a lot. So his offensive value is going to really revolve around how many pitches he can run into, because he's going to strike out a lot. That's part of his game. There's when he makes contact, it goes pretty damn far.
Speaking of catchers, you know who was batting cleanup tonight for the Pirates when I was watching?
Joey Bart.
Joey Bart batting cleanup. Yep.
Yep.
I saw him get a walk. And then
Good for him.
O'Neill Cruz hit a 115 mile per hour artillery strike into the outfield. Yeah, I don't know who won, but I was watching that before. All right, let's go macro. Who do you like winning the NL, and who do you like winning the AL?
Oh, I gotta say anyone but the Dodgers and the NL, right? I'm gonna go with the Mets.
Okay, I'll take the
Yeah,
Mets.
I'm just gonna Juan
Worried
Soto's
about
a
their
nice.
pitching, but
Yeah, that's David Stearns, their president of baseball operations. Like, they made some moves this offseason where I was like I think they signed they re-signed Sean Manaea, they got Clay Holmes, and then was it Frankie Montas that they signed, or am I
yeah, and he's on
mis?
the IL to start, I believe.
Yeah, I was just like, I kind of had to tell my head, I was like, huh? Because he got a pretty sizable contract, but David Stearns is a smart guy. The teams that he oversees, they tend to pitch well. They tend to pitch well with guys you probably don't expect. I like the Clay Holmes addition, transitioning him to the rotation. Feels like that's going to be a nice fit for him. Maybe they don't have the premium arm that other teams have. They have Senga, who was really good a couple of years ago, missed a lot of time last year. So I'll go with him. I'll go with the Mets in the NL. In the AL, I like what the Rangers did this offseason. I don't know if it's enough.
Okay.
let's see who else. I think the Yankees will probably take a step back losing Soto. They have Max Free, Garrett Cole's out for the year.
Yeah, they got
I
8
like
guys
the
in the lineup.
Royals. Yeah, I like the Royals, oddly enough. Good
I did
rotation,
good. That's a good
quietly
one.
good rotation. Um, yeah, the Guardians are, for them, they just have all the right puzzle pieces. It's they're the they're greater than the sum of their parts or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rangers, Guardians, Royals. Those are the teams
I would
that.
like to see the Royals because I think, Witt Jr. is a potential face of the league coming up. That team was fun to watch last year. Just
Hell of a player.
yeah, that dude's a fucking stud, man. Like that guy, Ellie De La Cruz, like the shortstops right now, especially they're fucking studs. They moved. I know Cruz. Well, he was a third baseman. They moved him to center field, but man, there are just so many guys that play short right now that are just incredible to watch. And that was my
Yeah,
point with yeah, Wade can get on base, but Ellie De La Cruz yesterday he gets walked by Logan Webb. I'm like, okay, I already know what's going to happen. He's going to score something.
it's gonna
Yeah,
steal.
he's still second. He ends it, and then he scores on the next little hit. Like that's what we can't do from the leadoff position. And I don't know if we have a guy
Yeah,
that anywhere in the lineup, to be honest, other than maybe Fitzgerald, like you said, but he's got to get on base first. So
yeah.
yeah,
He's a good base runner, Fitzgerald. That's
yeah.
for sure.
All right, who's your World Series champ?
Uh,
Don't
I'll
say
say the Mets.
Dodgers.
It's been
Okay,
I'll say the Mets. It's been a long time for them. It's been 40
86.
years.
Yeah,
86. Yeah.
86. Yep. The cocaine Mets. That team was ridiculous. Like Dwight Gooden's, did you see? Like, if you ever get bored, just go back and look at
Oh
Dwight
yeah.
Gooden's age 20 season.
Yep. It was insane.
Make any
I have
sense.
those numbers.
It doesn't make
Like
any sense
yeah. It's like you're not going to see that anymore
ever,
ever again.
ever again. Nope, not even close. Like the dude was literally Bob Gibson, like at 20 years old. It's ridiculous. Um, all right, Jeff. Anything we're not covering tonight? Anything that we need to know about the Giants that we overlooked, we missed, we didn't get out there? What do you got any interesting tidbits? Like Bob Melvin's not going to make it through the end of the year. Like what do you? Give me a crazy Giants prediction. What do we got?
Let's see. Bob Mel. I don't know. This he's entering kind of a contract year. He has a team option
Mhm.
for 2027. So this is going to be the make or break year for him. And this might be his final year managing if the Giants go in a different direction. This is his fifth team.
Yeah.
I just don't know how many more opportunities he'll get, but yeah.
All right, that's it. You heard it. He's Jeff Young. He is at Baseball Jeff 1 on X. You can find him on Around the Foghorn. You can find all of his live game tweets and updates from the minor leagues and all those good things on X. He is the Giants beat reporter to follow. Please do so. And he has predicted that the New York Mets, not the San Francisco Giants, will win the World Series this year. Gonna have to disagree with him on that because I feel like when the Giants go 162-0, they're the number 1 seed. Things could break our way, but it's all good, Jeff. I appreciate you joining me and hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast to chat Giants baseball. So thanks for having me on. We'll have to do it again soon.
We'll do it at the All-Star break when the team is, I don't know, what are they, 97 games now to go in the All-Star? When they're 97-0, I'll bring you back on.
I'm glad you said that because if you said 97 games into the year, I was going to be like 97-0, right?
Yeah, of course. They're not losing. They've already proven that they can't lose this year. So, and they haven't, I know you mentioned something about Willy Adames, but like I said, the San Francisco Giants have never lost with Willy Adames in the lineup. Just saying.
Bro, yeah.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, man.